Welcome to Useless Agent. This program is not meant for children of any age. Enjoy my nightmares.
Stay chasing.
Okay, let's do this.
Joy, stop crying. I'm just a city guy, living fly, getting high, living till I die, getting by, whipping by, staying solidified, big time to different sides. Here's your ticket, ride, follow if you feel my vibe. I'm just a city guy, living fly, getting high, living till I die, getting by, whipping by, staying solidified, big time to different sides. Here's your ticket, ride, follow if you feel my vibe.
50. Smile on your face. Nobody give a fuck about 40. Nobody remember 40. And y'all niggas just giving me way too many 40-degree days. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Alrighty. How's it going, party people? My beautiful starflies. It's another fucking day. Today is the 10th of March. And god damn, man. Fucking daylight savings, man. I don't know why it's like, well, we all know why. It fucks your whole system up. I thought we were done with this shit. Like, you know, there was all that talk about, like, we were going to stop doing that shit. I think that I know that it has to do with farming and shit like that, and it was to give farmers like an extra hour, and then there was all these other reasons, I think. And it's because of that we have this like problem with our 365 a year kind of lifestyle. It doesn't really kind of add up to that or some shit. There's a lot of debate on it. This is why I like the 9 to 5, standard work hours. You're missing out. I think on an average, you're missing about 30 days of work or 30 days of pay. When the numbers are all set. I vaguely remember this. I saw it when I was stoned and I read it, and I just tried to parrot it right now, and I just realized how stupid it sounded when it came out. So my bad about that. My bad about that, man. Oh shit. So anyway, today's just been fucking already weird. Got to see another complaint from yesterday. We get a lot of hate watchers, and that's cool, man. Hey, how's it going? I really don't have any beef with you, but I really don't give a fuck. But all right, so we're gonna get a little I don't know, man. It's gonna get a little blue, all right? It's gonna get a little fucking dark in here, because yeah, we're talking about issues of SA and graping. Now, I guess I should preface this with this Ashley Madison survey they had basically done, because I had always wondered if there was, not always, I mean, I've wondered this for a long time. Is there some sort of correlation? Can we draw any sort of like connection to this between sexual deviant behavior and conservatism? Because it's always strictest households that create the freakiest of freaks. When Ted Bundy tried to hide under the idea of saying that violent pornography or pornography made him do it, you can totally tell he was lying, because like he would savor moments when he talk about killing people. And yeah, this had been viewed by psychologists and psychiatrists, and they were like, yeah, he's savoring the moment. Every time he talks about it, he closes his eyes. And so I wanted to think that there had to be some sort of correlation. So after, some minor research, you find this pretty fast, and I think this has so far been, one of the easier things to find. But the overall summary is like, the more politically conservative Americans are, the more restrictive their sexual attitudes are. A natural follow-up question is how this difference in attitudes relates to actual behavior, but self-reports sexual behavior may be compromised by a social desirability bias that is influenced by the very sexual attitudes at issue. We employed a non self reported measure of sexual behavior usage of adultery focused dating website Ashley Madison, linking an August 2015 link of user data from Ashley Madison to 2012 voter registration rolls from 5 U.S. states. So we found 80,000 matches between 200,000. It's a really good amount. Ashley Madison user accounts and 50 million voters. So that's where they're pulling out this weird data. And so according to the simple rates in the sample, and also to predictively validated regressions models controlling for state, gender, and age, we found that Democrats were least likely to use Ashley Madison. Ashley Madison, I remember this was a website to cheat on your wife or husband. It was Ashley Madison was an adultery website, like a social media thing. Libertarians were most likely, and Republicans. Greens and unaffiliated voters were in between. Our results provided support for theories arguing that people with stricter sexual attitudes are paradoxically more likely to engage in deviant sexual behavior. Okay, so with all that mouthful said, it basically clarifies what I'm saying right now. So we all noticed this because we noticed, the people that lived in those strict ass houses, what's strange is that Hispanics, I also knew a lot of Hispanics that had really strict lifestyles too, but they just end up having babies at 15, they end up fucking too early and then they get knocked up. I mean, that's why it's that stereotype that, Latina girls put out and shit. And it's not necessarily that. It's just, all it takes is a little pre-cum. That's all it fucking takes, man. And then you got a fucking crying little shit in your hand. And congratulations, you're 15 and you fucked your whole life. And this is why the issue of abortion, this is where that shit comes in. This is where Roe v. Wade is most needed in situations of prevented pregnancies. And some people shouldn't be having kids. And I don't understand this Republican, we need more babies. We need more babies. No, we don't. Because all you do is fuck us over anyway. I am one of those babies, and you just fuck us all the time. Now, when it comes down to the conservatives, I noticed there's a much stronger, passionate anger there. And I noticed that from the comments that I get on TikTok, the comments I get on here, YouTube, wherever, when it's the MAGAs and who I used to consider conservatives, now I don't know what you call it, but MAGAs, they are extra angry. So it reminded me of people like Laura Ingraham. Now, she goes by Laura Ingram, which is more like German, but her name is Jewish. It's Ingraham. And so because Fox News is a Nazi-like corporation, they don't want any fucking Jews. That's just how the fuck they are, man. Over at Fox. So let's listen to her brother, and he explains their childhood in a little bit of detail, saying about how, conservative they were raised, and how this only fueled her into being a, very mean person, whereas her brother had gone 180 degrees opposite way and, completely 180, and, lived his life as a gay, a happy gay man. He's I think he's married, he's got a kid and shit, and so yeah, to talk about, we need more babies, hey, they're helping out with the fucking babies. What the fuck? Shut the fuck up. It's not enough to have a baby, you gotta fucking raise the baby. That's the problem. Fuck, man.
From a podcast we did a little bit.
That's where everything gets
clip.
So I think the pathology comes from familial soil, and I've used that term in the past. So my father was a Nazi sympathizer. There was a copy of Mein Kampf on the living room bookshelf. He was abusive. He was an alcoholic. So we are in a family of anger, abuse, and I think that is what has happened to my sister. People say, well, how did you turn out so different? So in my life, I found love, and my sister has not found love. And so she's gone on this path where she's being honored and rewarded for the type of things that we learned in our childhood. She's getting credit for that anger. And
now, I'm interrupting him. This is prevalent in so much of everyday behavior. Seeing the projection, denial, and, just a complete naivety.
that destruction.
Naivete.
There's no solutions being put forward. It's all just criticism and smearing. It's very Trumpian. She and Trump have a mindset, I think, that's very similar.
And that's not too foo fighters. That's not too far fetched. Knowing that, Trump had a father that, couldn't stand him. How could you blame Fred for that? Nah, seriously, no child deserves that. A child deserves to be raised. And that's my entire point is about, it's not enough to have the babies. You got to raise the babies. And it takes a fucking village. And you need help. If you are going to constrict your family down to 3 people, maybe 5 at the most, this is gonna get pretty fucking dark when you start, seeing these households with, drunken fathers, beaten mothers, won't ever fight back. They've learned their place. And you can just tell when you're in that house, you can feel it, you can feel the vibe, and you're just like, man, this is a bad place to be, bro. And you can, these are the type of lives that we lived. We saw these kind of parents that would just be cursing at each other the whole time. And my friend would be grabbing his jacket and be like, come on, let's go. Let's roll. Nobody wanted to deal with that shit. Nobody wanted to fucking look at that shit for what it was. And I think that you're either going to go one way or the other. You're either going to go with that anger or you're going to go against it. And, some will either, turn into a shell and like Jerry and just literally form into a fucking hard shell. Like in Rick and Morty, it's just a self-defense mechanism, but eventually you're going to have to open yourself up to that fucking world. So after hearing that from Laura Ingraham's brother, we see it more and more all the time. And recently on the episode of What Was That by Gabe Sanchez, who I'm a fan of, it's just another, fucking, he just looks like another goddamn city kid, Chicano kind of normal kid, whatever. So he had mentioned the fact that all of these hardcore conservatives always turn out to be pedophiles and rapists. And that's not a fucking coincidence. It's because of the conservative household in itself. And this is as obvious as it can be from when you're a kid and you witness it. So there's another channel that does a really good job on diving into the lives of these scumbags. And so I'm a big fan of Hysteria, so I want to show her stuff and point out or listen to her, because she's going to basically talk about Mike Johnson's early childhood and that his outrageous extreme views were never anything new.
It sounds like the GOP just elected a Democratic campaign ad Speaker of the House. And in that spirit, I'm ready to learn more about this human supercut of wacky ideas.
It's about the origins of his rabid anti-abortion stance. His parents would go on to divorce, which he doesn't talk about as much when he publicly discusses his rabid anti-divorce stance.
I'm no psychologist here, but I've seen a lot of Marvel movies, and this sounds a lot like a very obvious villain origin story. Why is your parents' divorce our problem, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is so fucking true. I never thought, I don't know why I said it like Jeff Goldblum, but I've never thought of it that way. Yeah, please stop making your parents' problems our problems, because that's the cycle what we're talking about.
Like former Speaker McCarthy's dad, current House Speaker Mike Johnson's dad was a firefighter. Mike idolized his dad and wanted to follow in his professional footsteps. But after his father suffered burns on 80% of his body, his dad demanded that Mike do anything but become a firefighter. And so instead...
Oh, God. So that kind of shows us that, his dad totally fucked America. All right? God damn it. It's always the parents. Always blame the parents.
Instead of becoming a firefighter, Mike Johnson became a professional bigot.
I really didn't know that you could go pro in that.
So have you ever seen a Ryan Murphy TV show and thought that the homophobic characters were much too restrained and nuanced? Then you'll love Mike Johnson. If there was a bigotry hall of fame, Johnson would be well on his way to being voted in on the first ballot. He spent decades working for the ADF, or Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a very ironic name, because it's...
I want to take a second to show this. We can see Mike, the elf on the shelf. He clearly has always looked like a child. Now, on the episode of What Was That with Gabe Sanchez that I was talking about, he talked about them turning out to be sexual deviants, but also about why these Christians have these crazy, weird way of speaking, kind of the way that, especially the way that Katie Britt had spoken after the, State of the Union. So after the address, she made that really creepy video in the kitchen like a Stepford wife, and it was really fucking creepy. And yes, that, we're here for you. But when they made fun of, he made fun of other people that talk like that. His wife is one of them. Now, I learned this a long time ago from I forgot where, but there's a correlation between people that speak like that and childhood SA and grape. They tend to have softer voices when they get older because they're kind of paused into, like, their mind kind of freezes after that kind of trauma, and they kind of hold on to that childhood. And by speaking like that, it's a way of, again, of a self-defense, but also a comforting mechanism, I guess. So it's funny, or not funny, but it makes it no surprise that his wife is one of those kind of people. She talks like this. And so when people do that, it's sad, because that something happened, and that's where these motherfuckers end up getting their bread and butter from, from tortured people. Yeah, and then they just go on and torture more fucking people.
It's a fringe but well-moneyed far-right organization that defends so-called conservative court cases. Think evil ACLU. The ADF was behind getting Roe v. Wade overturned, several court cases defending the right of businesses to refuse service to gay people, and has fought to uphold anti-sodomy laws, which would criminalize same-sex relationships. I just want to point out here that people need to understand that sodomy means any sexual encounter that is not P in V, which means anti-sodomy laws would outlaw blowjobs. Every frat boy in America should be up in arms about this.
I have read
Why
about
you gotta be a
Johnson.
frat
He is
boy?
bizarrely obsessed with hating gay people. Like, do you know how when you talk to a kid in their dinosaur phase and all they want to do is talk about dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Mike Johnson is like that, but with saying weird things about gay people. Kevin Spacey's character in American Beauty levels of obsessed.
I think we can all agree that Mike Johnson would be played by Kevin Spacey in a movie. That creepy hint of a smile, the dead eyes, the quiet rage that radiates from him. Perfect casting. Back in the mid-aughts when Johnson was a lawyer with ADF, he wrote multiple local newspaper editorials espousing outlandishly homophobic beliefs. In one, he wrote, quote, "Your race, creed, and sex are what you are, while homosexuality and cross-dressing are things you do. This is a free country, but we don't give special protections for every person's bizarre choices." In another
Oh wow, that's a lot. That's a lot right there. Man. So we know that his father was, a broken guy, but not a broken guy. But it seems like he should have been this driving factor. But they didn't discuss how the household was. They didn't really discuss if it was like hardcore Christian or what. So that obviously it is because of the way he talks about the Bible, and to see that his whole past is like this. I'm sorry, that was a stupid question. Never mind.
op-ed Johnson wrote, quote, "Homosexual relationships are inherently unnatural, and the studies clearly show are ultimately harmful and costly for everyone. Society cannot give its stamp of approval to such a dangerous lifestyle. If we change marriage for this tiny modern minority, we will have to do it for every deviant group. Polygamists, polyamorous, pedophiles, and others will be next in line to claim equal protection. They already are. There will be..."
They already are. That's not necessarily false. You do have people like Nambla and there are pedophilic groups that try to normalize their behavior because people did it in Greece and ancient Rome and shit like that. I think that their choice in children is just the same as obviously any heterosexual feels to a woman or a homosexual feels to their same sex. There's like an immediate attraction there, and that comes from some seriously psychologically fucked up shit. And I don't know if there's any way of reversing that. I really don't, unless you just fucking zap them completely and burn them out. Like we see, like what happened to Jack Ruby, shit like that. That's the only thing you can do for those people.
Be no legal basis to deny a bisexual the right to marry a partner of each sex or a person to marry his pet.
See, the idea that a bestiality always has to come into play always makes me wonder even more, like, what is your deal? Why are you talking about dogs like that? Just because you see two guys making out, that shouldn't offend you in any way. If it offends you, I mean, some people can be uncomfortable with it. Like most, people on the block, they're not homophobic. They feel uncomfortable with it. Like, it's just because it's not their preference. There's no hate there. It's just discomfort. And so when you look at that and just get mad, it's obviously because they have the confidence in being themselves and free, and you can't. For some reason, you have been told and taught and programmed to believe that what you have is a sickness. No, as long as they are willing and they are of age, then, and it's consulting, consensual, then no, that's not the same. It's now it's apples and oranges that you're comparing it to a you know person or whatever. The A, for A to be attracted to B has to be. God damn it! I can't explain myself at all. Damn, I'm so sorry, guys. That was horrible. It's really hard to explain that situation. Keep talking. I sound like an idiot.
Foresight, Aaron. Famously, since Obergefell legalized gay marriage, the next great progressive cause has to be legalizing human pet marriages.
Right. So anyway, I'm just saying that the ridiculous comparison to bestiality is fucking ridiculous, because we're talking about a human and a human that are the same age and they like each other, or at least of age. Now, what I meant to say is, like, when you're fucking a dog or fucking a baby, these are defenseless, non-consenting, non-mutual. This is not okay. And if it is consensual by that child is not fully developed to understand what the consequences are. So, some kids can just get sexualized early. I don't mean sexualized. I mean, just they can get, boners earlier than others. I was never a kid that hated girls. Like, I always loved girls, because I was always raised around them. So I always loved the attention. Not having any male figures in my life, I like it. I got used to female attention, but it's very different from a stranger than, getting kissed by your mom, so in a case of, like, let's say an incest couple wanted to, get married. Man, it's fucked up, but, like, I guess just no kids. You're not allowed to procreate. Please don't. I mean, I can't force you not to. I mean, just please use your discretion, because then we're going to start having Neanderthals around here again, and, like, people with really long chins and shit. It's just not good. But according to my code, I suppose I'd have to allow it. I always try to think of it like, okay, well, what if you were in charge and you have to say yes or no to these two people wanting to get married? Okay, what's the problem? Well, they're brother and sister. Oh, shit. Knock yourselves out, I guess. Just don't have any flipper kids, If your kid comes out with a bat wing, you're gonna have to take care of that. You're gonna have to feed that thing. Don't do that. I'm just saying is, if it's an adult and they both say, hey, this is what we want, it's like, all right, well, okay. So now we move on to the ultimate piece of shit, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So all right, so let's get started with her early life in high school. Let's find out what she's about.
Bob owned a successful construction company. Her mom, Della, was a homemaker. When she was a child,
right.
Lil Marge's family moved from the Atlanta area to a town called Cumming in Forsyth County, Georgia. I know, you can giggle, it's fine.
Thank you.
We're all not adults here. One of the most notoriously racist counties in the U.S. Between 1910 and 1920, whites in and around Forsyth drove all of the black residents out.
Now, do you think they moved to that town on purpose? Yes, they did. So it's inherited. Obviously, all of Marjorie Taylor Greene's hatred is inherited. That makes that pretty obvious.
Kids were chanting white power at anti-civil rights rallies in 1987. There were no black people in Marge's high school graduating class, despite the fact that Georgia is 1/3 black. In other words, it's exactly the sort of place you can imagine a person who would wind up like Marjorie Taylor Greene growing up.
Aaron, I kind of imagine Marge being the girl who played field hockey solely so she could hit other girls with sticks. She was definitely the first girl at the party to do a keg stand.
Actually, Marge was fairly unmemorable as a high school student, according to a profile of Greene from The Atlantic. And she was also fairly unmemorable as a student at the University of Georgia. But she was memorable enough to one person, Perry Greene, who she married in 1994. Perry was an accountant who eventually went to work for Marge's dad's construction company. The couple eventually bought
it
Taylor
over.
Commercial, her dad's company, and moved to a big mansion with an indoor pool. She had.
All right, so I mean, already you can tell that Marjorie Taylor Greene did not have a normal life. You know, from hearing that, I knew about the when she got married. I didn't know anything about her. I knew her father was also a racist. She grew up in a racist family, but yeah, it makes sense that they would move into a super racist neighborhood, which, you know, it's kind of like Ruby Ridge. You know, it's like you feel bad, but at the same time, it's like, man, why did you guys have to be skinheads? You know, it's hard to have empathy for people that it's hard to have empathy for those with a fucked up moral compass. You know, it's really hard to put yourself in the shoes of a pedophile, because, like, dude, I would never do that. But, you know, I think that takes the best of us to empathize with that. And that's the hardest part about psychology or psychiatry, is the exception of your patient's, you know, stories. You're going to hear some really horrid shit just early on when you're in college, you know, because the courses you're going to take, you're going to have to hear stories about people microwaving their kids, and you got to feel for them. You got to be able to understand them, not think about the baby in the microwave. And for a lot of people, that's fucking impossible. And I can understand that, especially if you're a mother. Like, I really understand that. But nevertheless, someone has to do it. And it's the only way you can get through to people like this. Could a Marjorie Taylor Greene be saved? I doubt it. Fuck it. I mean, people can always change. She's not that old. So, I mean, yeah, she could. If I don't know, you'd have to break down every bit of her to rebuild her into something better. And that alone is manipulation. So it's like, God, you wish these people could just find the sensibility on their own accord. But it doesn't seem to ever happen that way.
Had 3 kids. This entire time, Marge was the picture of the quiet suburban wife, just tooling around in her cul-de-sac paradise until in her 30s, and something turned.
Wait a minute, Aaron. Marge has always tried to make it seem like she was some salt-of-the-earth regular lady.
Alyssa, you've been sold a bill of goods. Marjorie Taylor Greene, despite her apparent lack of intellectual curiosity and ability to act right in public, is rich as fuck. The small business she owns is worth somewhere in the ballpark of $5 to $25 million, according to her campaign filings. A McMansion.
But this is what they do. They always say that. Look at Donald Trump saying that he just got a small loan from his father. Wasn't it like over $1 million?
hillbilly, if you will, an F-350 Habsburg. In her campaign
killed her
ads, she
joke.
depicted
Sorry.
herself as a hands-on CFO of the small business she owned, helping manage the day-to-day activities of the company that she and her husband had bought from her dad. While it's true that she was the chief financial officer for a few years, it appears she sucked at it, as her time in the C-suite ended when Taylor Commercial got into tax trouble. CFO. And people who actually worked there told reporters that Marge seemed like a nice enough person, but she was barely there. Her
All right, so we know that she's completely inept. So again, we see that her, upbringing had raised her to be this super negative. That explains a lot, really, to why she's so anti-American, why she hates us so much, and is so fucking confused on every little aspect of what America is. And to hear these people saying, there's people coming in this country from everywhere. Yeah. That's the idea, man. That's the whole idea of the country, What the fuck is wrong with you? Nevertheless, give me your tired, give me your poor, give me your huddled masses. No, none of that shit. So it's pretty obvious that your upbringing means a lot to who you become. And you either die a hero or you see yourself become the villain. Live long enough. Yada, yada. So, it doesn't surprise me at all. And so, what I would like to know is, of course, the darker issues. And because honestly, we know that these guys do have them. There's this closeted anger to conservatives that they just want to be, part of them just wants to be free. And you can fucking tell that that's why libertarians hate liberals and why fucking, hard right-wingers hate liberals, because we are free. We don't give a flying fuck, man. Just live and let live, yo. But to some other type of personality that has been restricted as a youngster and then traumatized and then restricted, they no longer carry that confidence to be free. So they have to hide within a shell of ideology to blanket over and basically become a catalyst, or not a catalyst, but basically be the blanket itself is just comforting. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But the ideology just simply becomes a nice little cave and a happy place to go and hide from the very things that you still haven't dealt with. And maybe you never will deal with them. Maybe it's impossible to deal with them. I don't know. I don't know you. But I find it hard to believe that you can't break the cycle. I had seen a lot of domestic abuse as a kid. And I didn't pass that on. When even little habits like shouting, I never shouted. My whole thing was trying to be my dad, this hero of mine, but better. That should always be your goal, to look at your hero and say, I want to be that, but me, my code, my rules, And if you don't have that, well, then you're a perfect candidate for a Republican. So on my way out, I want to give us something fun, since we're talking about SA and grape and all that stuff. So it's really hard to talk about that childhood stuff, and it's no fun. So let's just watch this real quick.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your. Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will.
Yeah, let me try something. I always wanted to do that. All right, so all right, so that's the end of today's episode. I hope you got something out of it. If not, I'm sorry, but we'll try next time. But seriously, there is definitely a correlation between the hardcore Christian ideology that forces you to feel ashamed for everything that you are. Well, in that case, go to Christina Applegate and remember, you're beautiful in every single way. Unless you're Marjorie Taylor Greene. Or Laura Ingraham. Or Mike Johnson, or Tuberville, or seriously. Love you guys. Stay safe, stay free, and most of all, what the fuck am I doing? Stay cheesy. In the world of today, we must remain cheesy. Have a good one, guys.
Welcome to Useless Agent. This program is not meant for children of any age.
Later, guys.
Enjoy my nightmares.
And stay cheesy.
Okay, let's do this.
Joy, stop crying. I'm just a city guy, living fly, getting high. Living till I die, getting by, whipping by. Staying solidified, big time to different sides. Here's your ticket, ride, follow if you feel my vibe. I'm just a city guy, living fly, getting high. Living till I die, getting by, whipping by. Staying solidified, big time to different sides. Here's your ticket, ride, follow if you feel my vibe.
50. Smile on your face. Nobody give a fuck about 40. Nobody remember 40. And y'all niggas is giving me way too many 40-degree days. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?